Dun 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 dun. Hey everybody, this is True Power Mine, and this is TPIM SR Live. Where to begin at today? Where to begin? So many places, folks. I just want to thank you for the great turnout last night for the live broadcast of the Carl Nelson Show featuring Mark Anaheim. ADOS crowd did not call in the Carl show, but they most certainly wrote some comments on the video. I would almost gather that the people watching, probably over 60%, were ADOS and agents combined. But I want to share with you real quick, and then we're going to get into the topic, the continuing war on the homeless. But this is, hold on. This is my cell phone, obviously. This is the analytics from Mark from Anaheim yesterday, the Carl Nelson Show, okay? I want to let you know, don't make a dime off this shit. Your estimated revenue, I'm telling you, that show wasn't going to be monetized right off a tip. I was going to, I already knew that. But 48,000 watch time minutes is fantastic. And look at the views. Look how they're messing with the views. See where it says view right here? Go across. And it's only 1.2. But then when you look up here, this is saying 700 or 1,740 views. So, we can't be for sure whatever. Let's get into this real quick. The reason why I wanted to talk about the homeless today, and we're going to make some calls as well. It won't just be all one-dimensional. It never is. But the reason why I did this today is because the war is here. Sister Love, Sister CJ, peace and power. Welcome to the show. I finally got to where I can see the chat. I'm trying to maneuver everything. I should have had this. Yes, and we do have a live studio audience member who's awake, and she's just having blasts over there. This is a very important little feature. And you guys got to understand, what do I always say on the show? You assassinate a person's or people's character, and then it's quite literally a piece of cake to take that person out. So let's listen to the latest propaganda against the most vulnerable segment of our population, the homeless.
Steps away from the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a horrifying random attack.
A homeless man dumped a bucket of stuff on your head.
A bucket of his diarrhea. I didn't want it to be in my mouth, but it was running down my eyes.
For over a year, the NBC4i team has been tracking crimes where the suspects are homeless.
And why? Hold on. Why are they not tracking crimes where the suspects are billionaires? Why are they not tracking crimes where the suspects are politicians? Like Ed Buck, Jeffrey Epstein. Nope. Don't want to do that. We're tracking crimes against people who can't afford proper representation. Brother Bay, welcome to the show. Peace and power. This is where we're at. And it's coming your way. Because once they're done with the homeless, who do you think they're coming for next? Let's continue.
Tonight, we have learned those incidents are skyrocketing. Investigative reporter Joel Grover reports on the growing threat linked to the untreated.
Hold on. The growing threat, the growing threat of homelessness. They're a threat. This is what I'm telling you. You got the upper class, the elite class. They're looking down on the middle class and working class. And the middle and working class are looking towards the homeless saying, my God, I better keep on working because I don't want to end up down there. Because of the very real probability of harm or death in that physical state. And don't forget, God doesn't make rich people. He doesn't make broke people. He doesn't make the working poor. Man makes all that.
Addiction on LA's streets of shame.
Keep your eye on the woman walking out of this apartment building. A homeless man approaches and suddenly smacks her in the head.
Now, let's break this down. What you just saw there was a mentally ill man who just popped a white woman, for all intents and purposes, on the sidewalk. Now, that's going to incite to the uninitiated two emotions. Oh my God, we're under threat. They're beating up Becky. They're beating down Becky. All right. They're fixing to take the homeless up out of the major cities, y'all. They are going to disappear them. Let's continue.
There are now thousands of crimes a year like this one in which the suspects are homeless and in many cases suffering from mental illness or substance abuse.
It's so traumatic.
Heidi Van Tassel was walking to her car near Hollywood's Walk of Fame when, according to police and court records, a transient with schizophrenia and psychotic disorders dumped feces all over her.
A bucket of his diarrhea. It was liquid, hot liquid. I was soaked and I couldn't see it was coming off of my eyelashes.
Now, I'm not here to bash the victim here. I'm here to wake y'all up. See, there's a cost for all the oppression. And typically it's the working class and working poor that absorbs the cost. They're their insulation barrier. From the people, the elite who sets the policy, to the victims that set policy, the homeless or the oppressed, and the folks in the middle. That's why it's not advised to be on the fence on this issue. I don't know about you, Brother Bay. I don't know about you, Brother David. Peace and power. Welcome to the show. I don't know about you, Sister CJ or Sister Love. I wouldn't want a hot bucket of feces thrown on me. And the only reason why dudes out there in the streets, Sister Kathy, peace and power to you. The only reason why the dudes out there in the streets like that is because there's no more mental facilities in the damn country because of Ronald Reagan and his policies. Once again, you are going to suffer the brunt. Half Q, peace and power. Welcome to the show. Brother Justin, welcome to the show. Peace and power. Let's continue. And keep that in mind. You are on the front lines on this war on the homeless.
Into my eyes.
Paramedics rushed her to the hospital, and she now needs to be tested for infectious diseases every 3 months.
It's something I won't ever forget. It was disgusting.
For over a year, the I-Team has been reporting on crimes where the suspects are homeless, like this guy arrested for setting fire to chairs at a downtown steakhouse, and this homeless man pushing someone in front of a truck. There were more than 6,000 of these reported crimes in L.
Now, I'm sorry, that last one was brutal as hell, wasn't it? The homeless man pushing dude, and he hit the steering wheel of a fucking truck. That was a commercial vehicle, probably a straight truck, box truck. Good morning, Sister Barbara. Peace and power, unity, and victory. We have to change the way the resources are divvied out. That's a key essential part of liberation. That is the bar by which you should be measuring the effectiveness of your organization, group, ideology, etc., etc. A social safety net is a social safety net of WIC, the social safety net of food stamps, the social safety net of Section 8, the social safety net of medical insurance. If all that wasn't into play, and other programs, if all that, like Unicore or I forget the name of, where the young people can go and get trade skills and then go out to the workforce. But if all those were cut, the level of crime would go through the fucking roof. Because don't forget, most people who are on these programs are not melanated people in this country. Most people who are Job Corps. Thank you, Sister Barbara. Job Corps. I wanted to say that. Listen, young people, Job Corps is a great opportunity to build a foundation for making a career that is somewhat resistant to fluctuation in the economic situation. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a carpenter myself. I'm saying it because it's true. You have to find something other than nothing to put food on your table until liberation is truly achieved. And almost getting back to the point of the show last night, when Mark was talking to Carl, just think if Mark wasn't a LA patrolman. How many people in Watts and other areas would have been victimized because he wasn't there? Brother and sister, I'm telling you, you are the next Mark. You are the next Harriet Tubman. You are the next hero. By doing your day-to-day actions, making sure you're seeing that people are being taken care of on the street front, and you have the power to make that happen. This whole segregation nonsense, man, that shit's played the fuck out. You have to infiltrate, not assimilate, but infiltrate and dominate. And not in the boule style. Because they're infiltrating and dominating the wrong way. I got my little rock star over here. But the thing about it is, yeah, there's more at stake than you know. Because the way we're going, folks, the way the nation's headed, the way the cells have been dialed in, we're headed to oblivion by design. So you can keep on cheering. We're going to keep on playing this report here. You can keep on cheering. Oh, yeah, let's take these scum buckets out the streets. Without analyzing why are the scum buckets classified as scum buckets and why are they on the streets? Because once you start to research that, then you understand, oh, shit, this is all game. This is all play. This is all by design. And once they get finished with the homeless, then they get finished with us darkies. Who do you think they're coming for next?
LA in 2017. By the end of 2018, the number of crimes was up more than 50%. And now we've learned the numbers are on track to climb even higher this year. We found case after case where the suspects suffer from mental illness or methamphetamine abuse.
Mental illness is code word for black folks. Meth use is code word for white folks. Because most brothers and sisters don't fuck around with meth. It's just a fact. Once you can tarnish an individual's character, then you can destroy that individual and go to sleep like a baby. Yeah. Hey, baby. Now listen. It's up to us to vote people into office. And once again, it starts with the vote and it ends with the vote. We didn't get into this situation in 2019, the year of our Lord, by happenstance. This isn't a case of evolution. This is a case of systematic oppression and conquering the Earth's biosphere by those who claim to have blood of aliens. I'm sorry, I hate to say it like that. I know a lot of people are like, what the fuck? The truth is, I said, we are being basically colonized on a global level by people who sincerely and truly believe that they have blood that is not of humanity. And when they see the dark skin, when they see the slanted eyes, when they see the olive complexion, all they are seeing are foreign combatants needing to be eradicated. It doesn't matter if they're delusional or not. We're far past that point. That's what you're up against. And the only way to achieve victory in that is show or demonstrate somehow, break through that indoctrination they're up under, and show them that liberation has room for them as well. Let's continue.
Use has been linked to violence, and so is untreated mental illness.
How could you live in this kind of environment and be okay?
Exactly. How can you live in that type of environment and be okay? You're not okay. You know what you are? You're fucking oppressed. You know what you are? You're dispossessed. You know what you are? You're disinherited. You know what you are? Now. And the people who put you there are going to come down there with some needles, yo. You need some vaccination, Sister Barbara. The people who put you in that situation can come down there with some food. Sister Kathy, we got some goodies for you. Gobble it up. You see, this is how they finish us off, Brother David. They get you into a state of need and suffering, and then they send in the missionary to put your ass in the missionary position. We have to understand the war of attrition in its totality, and don't label it. Please don't label it, because the system that I'm talking about was the system that they learned. And who do you think they learned it from? Brother Nathan, peace and power. Brother James, peace and power. Welcome to the show, y'all. Let's continue this.
Mentally okay.
Mentally okay.
Reverend Andy Bales runs the Union Rescue Mission. Does life on the streets lead to violent behavior?
Absolutely.
Like the attack on that woman on a downtown LA street. Keep watching. Just seconds later, the man punched another victim, attorney Brandon Cohen. Were you kind of in shock?
Now, I wish the image would stay up there when I pause it, but it won't. But you saw the fat feller. The dude that punched the fat feller could have fit inside the fat feller probably 2 to 4 times. I mean, dude's going to have a... Hold on 1 second. Yes, baby. Oh, yeah. I don't want to say yes because I don't know exactly what you said. But I will say... Okay. Oh, that's an owl. Ooh, awesome. All right. Now, back to what I was saying. The man that got hit is obviously suffering from overeating. All right. The man that hit dude, I guarantee you, knows hunger. The man that hit dude knows thirst. The man that hit dude knows what it's like to be out with nothing and everyone potentially a predator. All right. So this is where we're at. Let's continue.
When it happened,
What was shocking was that I lived here for 4 years and it didn't happen sooner.
we found the homeless who are arrested for these crimes are often right back on the streets without getting any treatment or help.
I am always on the lookout.
We discovered that Brandon Cohen's attacker, Charles Fuller, had 4 previous felony convictions. But after he attacked Cohen, the cops simply gave him a citation for battery and let him go. 4 months later, a block away, a similar attack against this mother and daughter. Though the police didn't make an arrest, so the suspect wasn't identified.
They need treatment for being.
And this is a fat fuck saying they need treatment. Who's going to probably suffer from a heart attack or stroke. They need treatment. Barely talk and breathe. The thing is, yo, the way the system works is that those who do the least reaps the most. Okay? And that wasn't a fact shaming comment before the trolls started. Oh, what did he say? What I said is, when you have people who are obviously on the breast of the system, being milked, being nourished, if you expect them to get off of that and give you any of that milk, you're sadly mistaken and you're delusional. You have to understand that this is all about perception. The whole system relies on you internalizing its power. The whole system relies on you understanding that without it, you will freeze. Without it, you will starve. Without it, you won't even have a place to sit. But for those of you who understand the spiritual side of life, for those of you who understand what we can't see or feel, taste, touch, or smell, I ask you, how come the birds in the sky don't have an economic system? How come the worm in the ground doesn't carry a credit card or have coins? Okay, come on now. You can't stop. I'm trying to do a show, baby. You can't come in here with your stuff. And I'm going to tell you why. Our intellect is our greatest asset and at the same time, our greatest liability. What do I mean by liability? Well, look at the world you're living in. It was designed by somebody. It was put together by men and women. It was implemented by goons. Now, here's the check. Here's the gut check. How do you feel about it? If you're cool with it, then you're on that side. If you're not cool with it, then you're on our side. And that in itself means we're already behind the 8 ball. Whether you want to accept that fact or not. So when weird and nasty things happen to you, and there are some things that are anomalies, some things that are truly coincidental. But almost 90% of the stuff that really occurs in your life wasn't by accident. It was set off by consequences that was set off by the oppression, that was set off by the disenfranchisement, that was set off by the dispossessed and disinheritance that was given down. Let's finish this little report, then we'll move on.
Drugs or mental illness. Nobody but you.
Like Jose Rio Frio, who made headlines in New York for stalking a TV anchor. He moved to LA, where he was convicted of threatening to kill a security.
Now, that's what's so suspect. How the hell can you get from LA to New York? Oh, he's homeless and he moved to LA? Just listen to the words that they choose to describe, dude. Because I don't know about you. The last time I checked, it costs a pretty damn penny to get from LA to New York. Whether you're walking, biking, hiking, or flying, or riding in a car or a bus. Isaac, peace and power. Welcome to the show, brother. This is what I'm trying to get at. Sometimes we see things that are orchestrated by the system to promote the pathway that these people, and there's two sides to the system, just like there's two of damn near everything. Even you yourself, listener, has a doppelganger somewhere in this world. There's somebody in this world that looks identical to you. At the top with the elites. And we see this being manifest in the intelligence community. There is a split of ideology. One sect wants to adhere to the original plan. The new set wants to alter the plan a little bit, essentially keeping it intact, but they just want to tweak it out. And that's let's say intellectual impasse that they cannot overcome, which is to our benefit. If we can amplify it, magnify it, exacerbate it, we can cause the system to implode from up top, which will ripple down. That's true trickle down economy. This other nonsense just doesn't work. Let's continue.
Security guard. Last May, he wandered away from this psychiatric facility and has since been on the LAPD's missing persons list. But the I-team found him hiding in plain sight, sitting day after day, yelling at people from this Hollywood bus bench. Right now, you're still suffering from mental health issues.
Yeah, sure.
It was awful. And it changed my life.
I mean, they're up in Hollywood and they can't get a better Becky to act on this. It was so awful. It was hot. It was hot diarrhea. Now, I am scared. I'm not scared, but I think she's scared that bucket of feces might have AIDS. It might have hepatitis. It might have influenza. It could have had, who knows? It had something for it to be runny. But her acting skills isn't convincing. It seems like she's straining to exacerbate her feelings.
Heidi Van Tassel says she's experiencing PTSD from that attack 7 months ago.
Now, they can acknowledge getting a bucket of shit dropped on you could make one suffer PTSD, right? Well, how come they can't understand years of Jim Crow, years of oppression, years of systematic racism could not have a sense of PTSD on the people? How come they can't cross that bridge? But we can cross it with old Heidi here. But we can't cross that bridge with Sister Kathy Gaines. We can't cross that bridge with Brother Randy Short. We can't cross that bridge with Honorable Judge Joe. We can't cross that bridge with Mark from Anaheim. Collectively. Now, I'm not saying individually. Individually, they are what they are. I'm talking about collectively.
It's changed the way I feel walking on the street.
Court records show her attacker was charged with battery and taken to jail.
He doesn't need jail time, he needs mental health care. I have empathy for him because he needs help.
Heidi's attacker was found mentally incompetent to stand trial, and prosecutors tell the I-Team he's now back on the streets.
Never forget his face.
Heidi Van Tassel says there should be help, not just for the mentally ill suspects in these crimes, but also for the victims. According to text messages she showed me, the LAPD told her their victim's advocate would contact her to offer her services. But Heidi says the victim's advocate never got in touch.
Steps away from the Hollywood.
Well, isn't that typical LAPD? They will get in contact with you, hon. Nope. I should play this report in its entirety, but I don't want to get copyright banned. Strike. Our little show is under siege, y'all. Apparently, we're not as under the radar as I once hoped or suspected. That being said, it's cool. That means we're being heard. That means we are being acknowledged. Not in a way that I personally want to be acknowledged or heard or received, but it is what it is. Before I go there, let me go here real quick. Also, 7:30 California time tonight, Brother Jermaine Shannon will be on the show. It's going to be a powerful one. Curtains up, live. Hold on, let's see what is this about? What's going on here?
I had seen the details of President Trump's July 25th call with President Zelensky, in which he mentioned Vice President Biden. I had come to understand well before then that investigations was a term Ambassadors Volker and Sondland used to mean matters related to the 2016 elections and to investigations of Burisma and the Bidens.
Grabby Joe.
Last Friday, a member of my staff told me of events that occurred on July 26th. While Ambassador Volker and I visited the front, this member of my staff accompanied Ambassador Sondland. Ambassador Sondland met with Mr. Yermak. Following that meeting, in the presence of my staff at a restaurant, Ambassador Sondland called President Trump and told him of his meetings in Kyiv. The member of my staff could hear President Trump on the phone asking Ambassador Sondland about the investigations. Ambassador Sondland told President Trump the Ukrainians were ready to move forward. Following the call with President Trump, the member of my staff asked Ambassador Sondland what President Trump thought about Ukraine. Ambassador Sondland responded that President Trump cares more about the investigations of Biden, which Giuliani was pressing for. At the time I gave my deposition on October 22nd, I was not aware of this information. I'm including it here for completeness. As the committee knows, I reported this information through counsel to the State Department's legal advisor, as well as to counsel for both the majority and the minority of this committee. It is my understanding that the committee is following up on this matter. Mr. Chairman, I recognize that this is rather a lengthy recitation of the events of the past few months, told from my vantage point in Kyiv. But I also recognize the importance of the matters your committee is investigating. And I hope that this chronology will provide some framework for your questions. As I mentioned in my October 22nd deposition, the information and quotes in my testimony are based on my best recollection, as well as a review of my personal notes.
Man, this guy's a long-winded windbag, ain't he? Talking all high and mighty. I don't think he's going to be an ambassador for long.
Let me return to the points I made at the outset. Ukraine is important to the security of the United States.
Lie. It's not important to security. You know what's important to security of the United States? Oil. You know what's important to security of the United States? Nuclear capability. Ukraine and the whole Cold War was a fucking joke used by the military-industrial complex to basically validate why U.S. taxpayers working so hard and putting in so much money collectively. Without the boogeyman, there ain't no money man. You get me? Without the boogeyman, there's no black ops budget. Without the boogeyman, there's no secret weapon development budget. You know, for every stealth fighter that becomes known to the masses, how many other projects petered out, concluded with no manufactured good or tangible results? How many? How many billions and trillions of dollars? How many homes were built by those working in clandestine operations that were just basically a money grab? Let's continue.
The largest country in Europe by landmass, Ukraine is a young democracy struggling to join Europe and ally itself with the United States. It has been violently attacked by Russia, which continues its armed aggression against Ukraine to this day. If we believe in the principle of the sovereignty of nations, on which our security and the security of our friends and allies depends, if we believe that nations get to decide on their own economic, political, and security alliances, we must support Ukraine in its fight against its bullying neighbor. Russian aggression cannot stand. Republican and Democratic administrations over 3 decades have been generous with assistance funding, both civilian and military, and political support. With overwhelming bipartisan majorities, Congress has imposed harsh sanctions on Russia for invading and occupying Ukraine. Mr. Chairman, there are 2 Ukraine stories today. The first is the one we're discussing this morning that you have been hearing about for the past 2 weeks. It's a rancorous story about whistleblowers, Mr. Giuliani, side channels, quid pro quos, corruption, and interference in elections.
United States of Russia. Sister Kathy, stop. What we're quite literally seeing, folks, is a manifestation of confusion. All these people are playing into the same game of world domination. Even in the Bible, it speaks of Mag and Magog. But let's not go too far into that. Let's just break it down. You have 2 opposite opposing forces, right? Just like a magnet, you have to have a North pole and a South pole. And as long as the poles of opposite polarities come in contact, they will attract towards each other and consolidate power. Now, when you have 2 North poles pointed towards each other, They repel each other and do not consolidate power. This is where we're at. This is what we're ultimately up against.
In this story, Ukraine is merely an object. But there's another story, a positive, bipartisan one. In this second story, Ukraine is the subject. This one is about young people in a young nation struggling to break free of its past, hopeful that their new government will finally usher in a new Ukraine, proud of its independence from Russia, eager to join Western institutions and enjoy a more secure and prosperous life. This story describes a nation developing an inclusive democratic nationalism, not unlike what we in America, in our best moments, feel about our diverse country. Less concerned about what language we speak, what religion, if any, we practice, where our parents and grandparents came from, more concerned about building a new country.
Oh, he just needs to quit it. This dude just needs to quit it. William Taylor needs to stop it with this nonsense and rhetoric. This country does not embrace diversity. It's predicated on the fact that there's disenfranchisement ingrained in the very system. Once again, all this Ukraine nonsense is about fomenting the continuation in the minds of people to justify spending all this money on defense. We can't pull out now. China's going to overtake us. Next thing you know, the United States will be picking rice and sending the shit to China. We'll be killing pigs and sending it to China. Your kids will go to school and learn Chinese, the new language of international business. That's the stakes. That's what's going down. Let's continue.
And I'm now looking forward to your questions.
I thank you both for your testimony, and I now recognize myself and Majority Counsel for 45 minutes of questions.
Mr. Chairman,
Master Taylor, I'd like to begin by following up on something that you have disclosed today and you disclosed earlier to both majority and minority, but it is some new information for the committee. You said in your testimony that one of your staff was present with Ambassador Sondland on the day after the July 25th phone call. Is that right?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
And as your staff related the event to you.
Hold on 1 second. While they're over here Rudy Putin and talking all this nonsense, Brother Chris brought up a very pertinent point. U.S. debt clock. I want to see how much the peasants owe today. Oh, it's only 23 trillion, 37 billion, 360 million and climbing. For those of you who have a job, please bust out your check account book. You need to write a check for $186,579. Now, if you're stingy and you don't want to help out everybody and just want to pay for yourself and forget everybody else, you need to pay $69,795. Pretty sad, ain't it? That this is the burden. This is the burden of all those clandestine operations, because all this 23 trillion bucks did not go for welfare as you think. Welfare is only 2% of the national budget. It went to new tanks, new weapon systems that never come to fruition, new psychological profiles, algorithm, new, well, basically, I guess you would say poisons that can be administered to the masses. This is what it's really about. Now, the dog and pony show right back here, this is to foment fear. This whole broadcast here is just to foment fear.
Your staff member could overhear Mr. Sondland on the phone. We could overhear the president on the phone with Mr. Sondland. Is that right?
That's correct.
So the president must have been speaking loud enough on the phone. This was a cell phone, I take it?
It was a cell phone.
The president must have been speaking loud enough for your staff member to be able to overhear this?
It was.
And what your staff member could overhear.
Peace and power, Sister Janice. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the circus of life. The mad carnival of reality. Sometimes I wake up and I feel like I'm quite literally waking up in a fun room where everything that you perceive to be real is nothing more than a distorted, twisted, bent reflection of reality. These men are playing games with future children. How? Because the conflicts that they will foment and will come to fruition in the future will require the death and blood and sacrifices of the young. You got a boo-boo.
In my thumb.
Let me see. Where's it at?
No, right there.
On your thumb?
Yeah. And at the crate.
Okay, let me kiss it and make it better. Mwah. Better?
I need to feel my phone.
Okay, let's do it.
After you're done.
Was President Trump asking Ambassador Sondland about, quote, the investigations? Is that right?
That's correct.
Now, I think you testified also that you had come to understand that the term investigations was a term that Ambassador Sondland, as well as Volker, used to mean matters related to the 2016 elections and to the investigations of Burisma and the Bidens. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
So your staff member over here is the president asking about the investigations, meaning Burisma and the Bidens in 2016. And Ambassador Sondland told President Trump that the Ukrainians were ready to move forward?
He did.
And I think you said that after the call, when your staff asked Ambassador Sondland what President Trump thought of Ukraine, his response was that President Trump cares more about the investigations of Biden. Is that right?
And Burisma, yes, sir.
And I take it the import of that is he cares more about that than he does about Ukraine.
Yes, sir.
During your testimony, Ambassador Taylor, you also said that more Ukrainians would undoubtedly die without U.S. assistance. Why is that?
Mr. Chairman, the security assistance that we provide, it takes many forms. One of the components of that assistance is counter battery radar. Another component are sniper weapons. These weapons and this assistance
is paid for by the U.S. taxpayer. What did I tell you? And the whole goes back to weapons and the military-industrial complex, fools. Now, why do you keep on falling for the okie doke again and again and again? Yes, the reason why I thank you, Most High, for bringing all this together. We started off with the homeless, and we end up with the consequences of people being homeless. The reason why that money is not being funneled into educational programs or being funneled into Habitat for Humanity or being funneled into the hands and pockets of men and women who need that money is because these dudes want to hoard the money for their masters who got them to be in the position of puppetry they're in. If there wasn't no money to be made in war, guess what? There wouldn't be no war. If there wasn't money to be made in research, guess what? There would not be any damn research. We need to have separation of church and state. We need a separation of business and state. Separation of research and state. If you want to sit there with your test tubes and your boilers and all this, then you do it on your own dime. This money is being used to facilitate the benefit of the people, being used to facilitate the betterment of their lives' condition. But most people don't want to hear all that, Sister Janice. They want to hear, oh no, I'm safe. We got Patriot missile systems that work less than 58% of the time when they're actually targeting weaponry, incoming ordnance. Oh, did I say that out loud? I did not mean to say that. The Patriot missile system is actually 100% flawless, Yao. I did not mean to say that it had any type of percentage less than 100%, because that's actually putting people in danger. But I'm upset, Yao. And when I get upset, I have a propensity to tell the raw truth. Unfortunately for me. All I want you guys to see is that while we have brothers and sisters becoming popsicles today, freezing up underneath bridges, dying back there in abandoned houses because they lack the resources and means to stay warm or stay fed or stay healthy. You have people like this here on your screen that you see that will quite purposefully make situations to ensure that their corporate overlords, their corporate masters, gets the bounty that will trickle down to them. Trickle down economy works for those who sell out humanity, for those who sell out your happiness and your joy and your life for their profit. It works for them, not so much for you. And the way you can check what I say is either true or correct. Looky here. If you don't have $186,579 as a working man or woman, or as an individual, even this little baby right here in my lap owes $69,795. If you don't have that shit, then basically your life is worthless. You can't even pay the tab for your existence. Let that sink in. I'm sure we're probably about at the hour mark. We'll just let this one be slow, or not a full hour today, because I got a lot of stuff I got to tend to. I just want to thank you, viewers. I want to thank you, listeners. I want to thank all the supporters of the show, all the confidential informants, both here in the United States and abroad. Thank you for sending me your messages. Thank you for giving me the intel I need to be the best host I can be. Hold on, baby. Hold on. I'm about ready to wrap it up. Hold on. Now, after this day's over, all I ask is that you try to find a way to be a better person. You try to find a way to make time for those who should matter in your life. No, you're not going to get this and make a mess. You try to make way for those who don't have a way, because mothers and fathers, don't forget these babies, man. They're dependent on you. They're dependent on you to make a better way for them. And the best way you can do this is by understanding and overstanding the system that we're all collectively against. Because I want to tell you right now, baby, if you're in that water, you're not on that ship, you're freezing. It's cold out there. It's cold out there. So with that being said, this will conclude TPIM SR Live for today. Today's date is the November 13th, 2019, the year of our Lord. As always, I ask you to live your life with integrity without hate, envy, or greed. Also, brothers and sisters, please, let's try to be kinder to each other. Peace and power, unity and victory, dignity and respect, liberation. I'm out.